So today we're going to be talking about Sony and Game Show Network, who has been our client for quite a while. Um, the media industry in general is really having trouble um, between consolidation and people's eyeballs leaving set-top boxes and television and basically streaming on our phones and iPads. It's gotten very, very competitive. So selling advertising on traditional cable networks and traditional TV is I wouldn't want to have that job these days. It's hard, but luckily for our client Sony and Game Show Network, as a matter of fact, that we started with Game Show Network 8 years ago, and then Sony had purchased them over time, so it's now Sony. But for them, they have a good story to tell, and they remain very competitive in this space for one main reason: a huge catalog of great programs that they own on the Sony side. And then Game Show Network, very loyal customer base, viewer base. They know the age group really well. They're trusted. People are engaged and watch a game show. Like they watch a whole game show and they're watching it more with their kids. And so they have a really good story to tell and they have very dedicated viewers. So they're fighting less than others are to get those eyeballs. But what they always needed was a good way to sell it. Ad sales is very competitive. There's massive amount of dollars that go into big events, ad sale, upfront, they call it upfront events. And then upfront presentations are often big and competitive. So we've been working with them for a while because we create an astonishing presentation that's as good as a film or a movie or some of the game show products. It needs to be that good to show off what good content that they have. So you would never want to do that in PowerPoint. So we have specific ways that we're going to talk about that we create these from start to finish. We've played a very important role for them. And at the end of the day, you want to make it entertaining. You want to involve those that are in your audience. And how we did that is about to be told.
Yeah, exactly. They have a very entertaining product and they needed to sell it in a very entertaining way too. So what our challenge was to arm their sales force with a selling tool that was as fun, as exciting, and had the ability to make those connections with the audience, the viewing audience, but also the ad buying audience. And that's what Sony brings to the table is this ability to connect. And we needed a selling tool that captured that. One of the things about media buyers, especially during the upfront, they're seeing so many pitches,
Yeah.
hard to stand out, and they have a very short attention span. You need to grab them, you need to engage them, and keep them engaged all the way through. One of the things that Sony and the Game Show Network has is great numbers. They have numbers behind their success story, and to just put them as bullet points in a slide, they would lose all the pizzazz. They wouldn't be able to tell a very successful story. So we need to take those numbers, weave them into a narrative, and give them context and give them zing to make the numbers an unforgettable and truly persuasive pitch that would stand out and deliver.
It's amazing. In the old days, back in the day, you would get an hour ad sales pitch. Then 5 years ago, it was like you get 40 minutes or 30 minutes. These days, we're lucky if you get 15 minutes. So in 15, 20 minutes, how can you do something that catches the eye? How can you tell your story with great numbers even and still catch the eye? Not an easy task.
Right.
So from soup to nuts, we've always come in and understood their business. We update with them at the beginning of the project and understand what changes have happened in the industry that we weren't aware to them. And then we go back and we write a hard-hitting story. The copywriting, what's the script? What's the script to the story that we're going to tell in the presentation? And that same script that we translate for the sales team, because that sales team gets trained and they have to go through boot camp in order to make these presentations. So knitting the interactive elements to grab people's attention, their brands, their content. How do you produce that on screen in a way that's really exciting? We've been using a platform that's one of our partners called Zoomifier. It's way beyond, it's like PowerPoint on steroids. And what that affords us and how we designed and strategize our presentation is partly because of the technology in Zoomifier. Endless amounts of video, high definition video can be held in Zoomifier. If you did that same thing in PowerPoint or Prezi or one of these, you would end up failing because it would probably crash. So integrating rich media, tracking slides, having a slide library, a collaborative environment and tool that the sales team can share. They can even make their own narratives on top of a slide presentation and send it to someone afterwards. Somebody said, send me the presentation. You can now give them the presentation with your video on the screen with you giving the presentation.
Yeah, and by giving them that ability to customize it, the worst thing you want is sales reps creating their own slides and trying to tell their own story, because they tend not to be great at doing that, and it really diffuses the message. So giving them a
Yeah,
library and that ability to customize and target whoever they're pitching without them having to do it themselves is very
correct.
important.
And on top of that, so what do? We end up with a slide library for each year that we've done this of about 120 slides. But it covers soup to nuts of everything they want to tell. They don't always show all 120 slides. They can pick and choose part of the story that they need to tell depending on time. But then they can all work together and see and track who looked at those slides if I sent them access to a presentation. How much time did they spend? Who did they share it with? Zoomifier gives them all that knowledge. So writing a good story, understanding what's changed, what's our point of difference this year, how are we going to sell better, what tools and assets do we have, how do we bring them together in a presentation that's really sexy? That's the ticket to this.
We manage the whole production of this, from concepting to scripting to design to coding. And one of the fun things about working with this client is they have a lot of great content. So, and Zoomifier allows us to use all that content in the presentation. So we might have a game show host do the intro. We'll be able to add sizzle reels. We bring lots of life, and we can really illustrate the numbers in ways that are really exciting. So you can say, here's the viewership, here's how many people co-watch the program. All of these individual numbers become lively parts of the story that jump off, literally jump off the screen. So then from there, we support the training. Sony sends all of the reps to a pre-market Salesforce training camp. We support them learning the presentation and how to use it, how to customize it, how to take those 120 slides and put together a presentation specific for their client that they can do in 15 or 20 minutes. We even intersperse gameplay in it for the game show parts of it, so that you can get the audience engaged with the content that you have. And then from start to finish, producing these tools, time is money. We produce them in a very efficient manner.
Yeah, I think one of the points you just brought up was an important one. I think we started it maybe 4 years ago. Starting to introduce gameplay within a
Mhm.
presentation is not normal. It's not something you would typically see. But because Game Show Network, we actually started designing the gameplay with the on-screen graphics, like you feel like you're in a game show studio. And there's no better way to get the audience engaged. They're going to remember you now, and there's some prizes sometimes, but they're going to remember you now just because of that. So if you had 15 minutes or 30 minutes, we designed it so you can do one little game. And often the last 2 years, it was testing what you've learned from our presentation. So if you answered some of those questions correctly, we knew you were listening to our presentation.
Right. It
That was all
really,
done by design and strategy. That's
sure.
not done just to be fun, even though it comes off very
Yeah,
fun.
it really reinforced their message and
Yeah.
helped them further stand out.
Yeah. So since about 2017,
Yeah, about
I've
eight
been
years
working
running.
on this. Yeah, 8 years running. We've been creating this fresh content that helps Sony sell out their inventory and Game Show Network all these years, year after year. It's amazing. We typically will deliver something upfront. So you deliver end of March. People are selling out there June, July. They sell out really quick. It's because I think they have a great story. I think their products are amazing. Their content that they own, the Game Show Network is everyone loves. And at the end of the day, we bring that all together in a presentation that represents them really well. So it's been a very, very good success for them and for us. Great relationship.
Right. And this was a fun client for us because it's a chance for us to use our selling muscles. We know how to do branding, we know how to do marketing, but we're really strong with sales enablement as well.